After 6 years of working as a park ranger, I quit. And here's why. Written by a random Redditor. Hello. This is a story on how I quit my job. This isn't a liberating story of breaking the shackles and going to my dream job. This is a story of leaving a demonic place. I am a park ranger, and it all goes back to about 1 week ago. I was in my truck, taking the usual route around the park, until I saw a white van. It wasn't even on the trail, it was just sitting there in the middle of the forest. I called in a 1092, a legally parked vehicle, until my radio went off. 10-4, permission to investigate. I exited my truck and walked towards the van. The environment was completely silent, except for the engine still running. My footsteps, which seemed ever so loud. I walked around the van. Nothing seemed odd till I got on the other side, and then I saw the black pentagram spray painted on the van. I started to notice that there were scuff marks and little blemishes here and there. I was walking back to my vehicle to call in a tow when I heard a roar. It didn't sound like a bear. It sounded like something demonic. I walked toward the source of the sound. I walked past the van and I kept walking, flashlight in hand. And I heard its violent cries again. I pulled my gun out and stood frozen. I heard footsteps behind me. I turned around to see nothing. I blew a sigh of relief, knowing it was all probably in my head. I walked back to my car and called in a tow truck. I looked out into the forest, and I noticed two red eyes staring back at me. I blinked, and they were gone. I thought it had to be in my head. It just had to be. There's no such thing as monsters, kept repeating in my brain like a broken record. Eventually, the tow truck pulled up. The man got out, and I got out of my car too. "You look worse for wear," the tow man said. "Yeah, lack of sleep." That was somewhat true. I was too embarrassed to say I was terrified. Eventually, we hooked up the van, and that was that. I got in my truck and drove off. And that was the end of it. Or that's what I thought. After getting a few complaints and other issues, I started to relax again. The only thing that bothered me was I felt like I was being watched. Eventually, I came up to a downed tree blocking the path. I checked my GPS and called it in. "We have a 1053 at J28 Southeast." And then I heard, "1012, we are sending assistance." As I got out of my car, I walked towards the fallen tree. I tried to push it to see if I could make some progress. While I waited for backup, it was useless. I kicked it in frustration. Then I heard it again. Not again. Not again, I thought. My heart was racing. And then, snap! A twig snapped and I instantly turned around. It was tall and muscular. I raised my flashlight and saw its face. Oh, God, The face. It had long goat horns and a face of a goat, with dark red eyes. Those eyes. It had been following me. I was face to face with the goat man. I dropped my flashlight and ran with my gun in hand. I ran, but I could hear the thing getting closer. I knew it would catch me. So I turned around and I fired off a few shots. That seemed to scare it. I looked, and I managed to get a headshot. Yet, I stood completely still. It looked at me and fled into the distance. I ignored the 1053 and got into my car and drove off. I went to one of the ranger centers and reported it in. Apparently, there's been multiple reports. Yes, there have been multiple reports, and they did nothing. I turned in my badge at that moment. I'm haunted by that thing. Its eyes still appear in my nightmares. After 6 dedicated years of working there, I quit. I do regret it a bit, but I hope I will never see the goat man again. And here's a warning to all of you. Don't go into the forest at night. The goat man might find you too.